Hello. So earlier today, I uploaded a video that was half-assed, and this one is to make up for the fact that I had forgotten before. So now this is the proper video for today. It's just a little later. And by little, I mean way too many hours later. But today, I'm going to be talking about a certain group of Ubers, right? Chocolate Daddy, Count Yukimura, and Aphrodite. So let me reorganize this, and basically I'm talking about the original Uber versus its seasonal counterpart. I want to show people the difference, or the possible difference, between the original Uber and its seasonal counterpart. So first of all, Yukimura. Everybody loves Yukimura, you know, so much damage, really good rusher, short recharge time, while also having the 50% strength and talent. Really good. Massive damage to black as well, gives him way too much damage against them. And then there's Count Yukimura, who actually got a true form, unlike most seasonal Ubers, but we can compare true form to true form thanks to that. So, you know, so the stats look pretty similar, right? Count Yukimura is actually faster. He's got more damage per hit. Why the hell did that send me all the way back up? He's got the same attack frequency. He's got more speed. I didn't realize he had more speed, but he has the same HP. He has less. Wait, he has more damage. Am I seeing this right? Oh wait, I was getting them confused. Right, he has less damage, but he has more speed, and that's about the only difference on the stats. But he has massive damage to floating instead of massive damage to black. But I think which is a big difference, don't get me wrong, because being an anti-floating rusher is actually, like, useful, because he's basically just an Uber version of Fishman, which is really good. But look at this. 100% chance to survive a lethal strike. He doesn't have the strength in because he doesn't have talents, but having this allows for him to have a guaranteed chance of getting a second hit off. Meanwhile, this Yukimura is these Yukimuras, they're still really squishy. So there's actually quite a high chance of them just not getting a second hit off. And having the 100% chance to survive a lethal strike basically guarantees you'll get a second hit off. And so that's what I want to kind of talk about, is that seasonal Ubers, most of the time, their biggest weakness is the fact that they don't have a true form. And so they're not really that comparable to their original, because if you compare the non-true form to the original, obviously you're going to see some big differences. But if you compare the non-true form to non-true form, seasonal Ubers, surprisingly, are actually typically better than the original without the true form. Without considering true forms, the seasonal variants are typically better than the original. It's just that their true forms are typically underwhelming, and they're typically not that good. But this one is honestly arguably better than the original just because of the survival lethal strike. That's honestly really good, and honestly, I would argue that it is as good, if not better, than the original. Thanks to the different targeting and the survival lethal strike, while sacrificing barely any stats and even having more speed, which is nice on a rusher. But Yukimura is a very odd example of a seasonal, because Count Yukimura is actually definitely the best seasonal Uber, just because it is one of the few to actually live up to the original's setup. And then also, you know, I don't know, be one of the best Ubers. You know what I mean? So, like, not only is it one of the few to actually live up to the original, the original is also one of the best Ubers. So Aphrodite, right? Aphrodite would be another example of a really good Uber with a seasonal variant. So if you compare these two, this one doesn't have a true form. But even without the true form, even without considering the true form, you see something? they have close stats, but the HP and damage are quite a bit lower on Sweet Aphrodite. Shit. And I think that's really the only difference. Like, the seasonal variants are actually very similar to their original. But the biggest difference with Chocoladite rather than Mega Aphrodite is the standing range. Sweet Aphrodite only has 550 range. Meanwhile, Aphrodite has 600. That's the biggest difference between the two, which is interesting, right? It's weird that they would change up the range like that. But Chocoladite also has massive damage to do 2 different traits. Meanwhile, normal Aphrodite only has massive damage to 1. Not to mention, these 2 traits are a whole lot more prevalent. They're a lot more relevant than aliens. Red and blacks appear a lot more than aliens do. However, aliens are more threatening and they are more known for having backliners. So, like, the original is definitely a lot better in this scenario. Remember, there's no true form for Chocoladite. And so, like, so that's another thing I kind of want to talk about is that there's different types of seasonal Ubers. But what I really want to let you know is that seasonal Ubers aren't actually that bad. I think it's a common misconception that everybody just assumes that seasonal Ubers are automatically the, like, worst versions of the original, which they are technically worse versions of the original, but that doesn't necessarily make them bad. Take Makako, for example, right? Does this Makako, have the same exact, like, build as the original? No. Instead, she focuses on having freeze against 3 different traits rather than becoming just a hardcore anti-alien. But look at the first one and look at the third one. Freeze against Relic, freeze against Traitless. Those are 2 really good traits to have freeze against. While also having good range, good survivability, and good damage over time. Like, that's good. And then, Catman, right? The amazing Catman, Illusionist, whatever you want to call him. Massive damage to Red, floating, massive damage to Red and Angel. I mean, are they power grab traits? Not so much floating, in my opinion, but Red and Angel, absolutely. However, that's still massive damage against 3 different traits with good, amazing survivability. Like, I think a common misconception is that, these guys are just automatically meant to be bad. But Seashore Kai has so much HP, 400,000 effective HP against blackened zombies while having 42,000 damage per hit. And look at the attack frequency and the attack animation. 5 seconds, 1.7 seconds. Look at normal Kai. Let's look at normal Kai for a second. Want to see what her attack frequency and stuff is? Her attack frequency is double and her attack force swing is double. So you may look at the damage and be like, oh, it's half as much as that of Kai. And oh, her HP is super low. And yes, her HP is half that of Kai's, but to be fair, this is a true form. So not counting the true form, Seashore Kai is exactly half of everything. Except for the HP. Same HP, but half the damage, half the attack frequency, and half the attack animation. AKA, the same DPS and more consistent attacks. Which, in my opinion, is all the better. Especially since this one actually has Zombie Killer, making it effectively a better generalist. But of course, this Kai has a true form. So that does make a really big difference. Kai's true form makes a really big difference. But the recharge time is the same. The targetings are probably better. Like, tanking floating is really nice, but like tanking zombies in black, that can be really good too, mainly zombies. Having a good zombie tank that can just zombie kill anything that walks up to it, pretty fucking good. Like, obviously, no, not every seasonal Uber is really good, right? Because Summer Luga, obviously, is one of the worst Ubers in the game. However, still a usage, but like, basically, I'm just trying to say that, like, not all of these Ubers are bad. Like, actually, a lot of them are actually quite good. I'm tempted to bring some of them into the Uber tier list that I do next. So, like, the 2,000 subscriber one. Because look at this Kai. Also have the attack frequency and the attack force swing, while this one has a true form, so it more effectively has the DPS and has almost the entire HP pool while also targeting 2 traits. Obviously, the other guy with Ultra Talents can target 2 traits. But without that, so considering at level 30, this guy has Anti-Angel and Alien. Also, I want to mention about this specific Kai. Frosty Kai specifically, look at the speed stat. It's so fast. Frosty Kai is so fast. Like, I mean, yes, normal Kai with true form got up to 16 speed, but like Frosty Kai is still faster than that. That's 20. That's effectively a rusher. You know? So like, I think it's a very bad assumption that seasonal Ubers are bad. Because like, they're actually quite good. I saw this Vars get used recently, and I was like, huh. I never thought this Vars would be that good, but 100% uptime with the slow. 100% chance to knockback, zombie killer on something with 445 range, and 3 knockbacks with 60,000 HP. That's really good survivability, really good range. Damage over time is fine, but look at this pushback. Not to mention, aliens and zombies are actually paired together quite often. This guy's really good. Doesn't even need talents to be good, because look at normal Vars, right? Oh wait, I should probably do that on a different one. Vars. Look at normal Vars. Because if I remember correctly, yeah, no, his chances are not guaranteed. Ever. Like, they're never guaranteed except for slow with ultra talents. Like, there's times when seasonal Ubers are worse than their original counterparts. There's times when they're arguably better, but still, like, pretty similar in usage, just because, like, they have different roles or like, their stats are mixed up. And then there's times when they're just flat out better. Because aliens and zombies are probably better targeting than Relic and Black, especially with the much inferior status that the original Vars promotes. Does the original Vars have more range? Yes, but it's not a lot more range, and it's not that big of a difference. You know what I mean? Like, the survivability, yes, is worse because it has less HP, but I mean, it's still a good amount of HP, and sacrificing a little bit of survivability and a little bit of damage, I say a little bit of damage, that's quite a lot of damage, and a little bit of range for much better status, hell yeah, I will take that. So basically, the entirety of this video is just to reveal to you that seasonal Ubers, they're still good, right? Like, they can still be good. Like, obviously, are you going to want them in the end of the game whenever you have all your fast Ubers and you have your Phonos, you have your Dazzlies? Like, are you going to want them in that aspect? No. But you shouldn't be upset, right? And like, it would actually be really cool to have them because they're so unique sometimes, and their designs are cool, and so they're fun to use. You don't always have to use the best Ubers. I personally would love to replay the game and be able to use these. So like, I would love to like just get a bunch of Ubers from, is it Dynasty Fest or is it Royal Fest? I think Royal Fest just has a bunch of women. Dynasty Fest, I think, is the one with a bunch of seasonal Ubers. I would love to just roll a bunch on that and get a bunch of those Ubers and start using them. And like, I would love to do seasonal Ubers only because there's so many of them that you can basically go through the entire game with them, and you wouldn't really be at a disadvantage because a lot of them are actually really fucking good. A lot of people just overlook them because, oh, they're seasonals, they're worse than the original, da 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 da. They're actually very good if you look at them a little more closely. And the last example I'll do is Winter General Kahime, right? I actually found her recently. Yes, she's expensive. Yes, her recharge time is kind of long, but her HP is really high. Her knockback count is kind of low, but I mean, still 2. It's not 1. Her DPS looks bad, right? But 100% chance to create a surge, which, yes, the surge is inconsistent, but that it's a guaranteed surge. So you can basically, so whether it's up front hitting the front line or it's in the back sniping the back line, you're still getting 7,000 DPS from 440 range with this good of survivability. And remember, she's slow, so which effectively makes her, better for that. And then 25% chance to Savage Blow. So if you do the math, that is effectively 10,000 DPS at level 30 on something that can also status red and floating pretty well. I mean, I consider that pretty well considering the attack frequency is low. And then also, it's just really cool. She's really cool. Like, look at this design. She's like Groot or something, like with the antlers. Like, it's really cool. I say Groot. I play too much Marvel Rivals. She's cool. Her design's cool. I don't know what she's like, but that's the whole thing, right? She's unique, And not that people don't like her, and not that people call her individually bad, it's that people just as a whole assume that seasonal Ubers aren't worth getting. Meanwhile, me, I disagree with that. So let me know if you agree or disagree, but if you did enjoy, please do come back for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.